Hello.
I was just returning my friend's hoodie, but what she said at the door changed everything. I hadn't planned on going to that party. Tyler's text came late in the afternoon. Just a casual backyard at 7. Don't flake. I almost ignored it, but I'd only been back in town for a few days, and everything felt too quiet. My room hadn't changed. Same posters, same squeaky bed, same view of the cul-de-sac I used to bike around. But college had stretched me in ways I hadn't expected. And now that I was back, I didn't quite know where I fit. So I went. Tyler's place looked exactly the same, but the crowd had aged. Everyone had. The backyard smelled like cheap beer and charcoal. And someone had dragged the old Bluetooth speaker onto the deck, blasting a playlist that hadn't been updated since high school. Familiar faces passed by with quick hugs and louder laughs. And for a while I drifted between conversations, holding a drink I wasn't really sipping. That's when I saw her. She was by the kitchen window, pouring lemonade into a glass. Lauren, Tyler's mom. I hadn't seen her in years. Not since graduation. She still wore her hair the same, just past her shoulders, a little messy, like she'd been running errands all day and didn't care enough to fix it. She looked older, sure, fine lines at the corners of her eyes, a new kind of stillness in her posture. But something about her presence was exactly as I remembered. Quiet, calm, solid. I stepped inside, more curious than I'd admit. She turned before I could say anything, and her eyes landed on me. For a beat, neither of us moved. Then her lips parted, just slightly, and she said my name the way no one else did. Eli. Hey, I said, suddenly feeling younger than I wanted to. She smiled. Wow, look at you. I scratched the back of my neck, unsure what to do with my hands. It's been a while. It really has. Her gaze lingered for a second longer than expected. College treating you all right? Yeah, I said. Mostly. You look. I stopped myself before finishing. I didn't know what the right word was. You look good. She didn't laugh it off. She just gave me a warm smile and handed me the glass. Thirsty? I nodded. Took it. Our fingers brushed, barely. But I noticed. The night went on. More people came. Some left. Tyler was already deep in conversation with some girl from his gym, and I didn't feel like inserting myself. So I wandered back inside. Lauren was sitting alone in the living room, legs tucked under her on the couch, a half-full glass of wine on the coffee table. She looked up when I walked in. Tired of the crowd? She asked. Something like that, I said. Mind if I sit? Be my guest. I sat on the far end of the couch. There was a silence, not awkward, just still. The kind you didn't want to break too quickly. I forgot how loud these things get, she said. I forgot how quiet everything else feels afterward, I replied. She glanced at me, something soft in her expression. You always did have a way of saying things that made me stop and think. I smiled. Didn't know I had that effect. You did. You do. Outside, someone cheered loudly. Inside, the hum of the fridge and the low jazz playing through the speaker filled the space. We talked about nothing and everything, about school, about how much Tyler had changed, about how little this town had. At some point, she asked me if I still played piano. I told her I didn't. She looked disappointed in a way that wasn't about music. You used to get so lost in it, she said, like it was the only place you could breathe. I didn't know what to say, so I just looked at her, really looked. Her eyes met mine and held. Something passed between us in that moment. Not dramatic, Not romantic, but something undeniably real. I should probably clean up soon, she said, looking away. I can help. She shook her head. You're a guest. Doesn't mean I can't be useful. She stood slowly, picked up 2 empty glasses. You were always like that, she murmured. Helpful, thoughtful, quiet, but watching. I guess I still am. She looked back at me. I noticed. We washed dishes together in silence. Her hand brushed mine once. It lingered for just a second. When everything was done, she offered me a soft towel to dry with. I'm glad you came tonight, she said. I wasn't going to, I admitted. Almost didn't. She raised an eyebrow. What changed your mind? I hesitated, then said, I think I just wanted to feel something familiar. She didn't reply right away, just looked at me in a way that made my chest tighten. Well, she said softly, you found it. We stood there for a few seconds, neither of us moving. The kitchen light buzzed faintly above us. The rest of the house was quiet now, just the 2 of us and the echo of something neither of us had named. Then Tyler stumbled in, laughing, holding a bag of chips. Dude, there you are. Thought you bailed. I blinked, stepping back. Just helping clean up. Lauren's face returned to neutral, but I caught the way her shoulders tensed just slightly. I think I'm gonna head out, I said. She nodded. Drive safe, okay? I smiled. Thanks for the lemonade. She looked at me one last time, and there was something in her eyes I couldn't quite place. Anytime, Eli. I stepped outside into the night, but part of me stayed behind. In that kitchen, in the quiet, in her gaze. Something had shifted. I just didn't know what yet. 3 days passed. I didn't expect to think about her as much as I did. But she lingered in flashes. The curve of her smile. The sound of my name in her voice. The way the kitchen felt too quiet and too full all at once. I told myself it was nothing. That it was just a long week, and my brain was playing tricks. But on the 4th night, I found myself back on Tyler Street with no real reason to be there. The excuse came easy. Tyler had left his hoodie in my car. I figured I'd drop it off, say a quick hello, leave. That was the plan. When I knocked, the porch light flicked on. The door opened a second later, and she was there. Lauren, barefoot, hair tied up messily, wearing a worn navy t-shirt and soft cotton joggers. She looked surprised, but not in a bad way. Eli, hey, Tyler left this in my car after the party. She reached for the hoodie. Our fingers brushed again. He's not here, she said. Working late. Shift at the gym. Oh, sorry. I can come back. She stepped back, just slightly. No need. Want to come in for a minute? I just made tea. I hesitated. Just a minute. Sure. The house smelled different than it did during the party. Warmer. Dimmer. Music played softly from somewhere. Something acoustic and mellow. There were candles lit in the kitchen. Small ones, flickering gently against the tile. She moved easily, poured 2 mugs without asking how I took mine. And she remembered chamomile, no sugar. You remembered, I said, accepting the cup. I usually do. We stood across from each other, the counter between us. She sipped, leaning one hip against the cabinets. I didn't expect to see you again so soon, she said. I shrugged. Didn't expect to be back. But you are. I nodded. For a while we talked. Nothing heavy. She asked about my internship. I asked about the library where she worked part-time. She talked about books that needed rebinding and kids who talked too loudly in the quiet sections. "You always liked quiet places," she said at one point, "even as a kid." "I still do," I replied. Her eyes met mine. "That's probably why you feel like the only person I can actually talk to these days." That silenced me. She noticed and changed the subject. "You hungry? I have leftovers. Not glamorous, but edible. You really don't have to." "I know. I want to." She reheated a bowl of something that turned out to be lemon risotto. We ate at the island again, side by side. It was casual, familiar, but charged with something under the surface. A hum in the air. Halfway through, she reached to pour more tea, and her elbow brushed mine. She paused. "Sorry," she murmured, but she didn't move her arm. When dinner was done, she rinsed the bowls and set them in the sink. I moved to help, but she waved me off. "You're still a guest. You said that last time." Still true. I leaned on the counter, watching her. "You do this often?" "What?" "Invite people in. Feed them tea and risotto." She gave a soft laugh. "Not really. Just me, then." She looked at me, steady, measured. "You're not just anyone." That landed like a stone in water, rippling. The silence after wasn't awkward, just full. "I always wondered," she said finally, "what happened to you after graduation? You sort of disappeared." "My dad moved us out right after. New job, new city, new school." "You didn't say goodbye." I swallowed. "Didn't know how." Her voice softened. "I noticed." Outside, the streetlights buzzed faintly. The curtains danced slightly from a breeze coming through a cracked window. "I should probably head out," I said, even though I didn't move. She didn't argue, didn't push. Instead, she stepped closer, just a little, and looked up at me. "You're different now." I tried to smile. "Good different. Real different." Another pause. Then she said, almost a whisper, "You ever think about how strange it is? The way people disappear and then come back when you least expect them. Sometimes." Her eyes searched mine. "Some people show up right when you need them." I didn't know what to say, but I felt it too. Whatever this was, whatever was growing in the spaces between our sentences, it felt like it had weight. She reached for the hoodie I'd brought, folded it slowly, neatly, then placed it on the counter. "I should let you go," she said, voice quieter now. I nodded, but still didn't move. She walked me to the door. I paused on the threshold, hand on the doorknob. She stood just behind me. "Thanks for the tea," I said. She smiled. "Thanks for not leaving too soon." I stepped outside. The night air was cooler than before, but I still felt warm. Before I turned to walk away, she said one last thing. "Eli," I looked back. "I hope next time it's not just to return something." I nodded. "It won't be." I waited 4 days before texting her again. Not because I wanted to, but because I wasn't sure what I was supposed to want. I walked around town like I was carrying something I couldn't name. I catch myself checking my phone when it didn't buzz. I told myself it was just curiosity. Just the memory of a warm kitchen and good tea. Just someone from the past filling a quiet space in the present. But it wasn't that. Not really. I texted, "Any boxes need lifting? Happy to earn another cup of tea." The reply came 2 minutes later. "Back deck's a mess. Come by after 6. If you dare." I was at her door at 6:03. She opened it barefoot again. Paint on her forearm. Hair tied up but coming loose at the sides. A tank top, old jeans cut at the knees, a smear of something like sawdust on her cheek. "You came," she said, like she wasn't sure I would. "You asked." She smiled. We walked around to the back deck. A few planks lay stacked near the railing. A toolbox sat open. It was clear she'd started something and then stopped halfway through. "I was going to fix the railing," she said, wiping her hands on a rag. "But apparently motivation doesn't come in a can." I grinned. "Good thing I brought some." We worked in rhythm, me holding while she drilled, her balancing while I braced. At some point, the sun dipped low and cast the yard in a golden glow, warm and thick. "You always this handy?" she asked, sweat shining lightly along her temple. "Not really," I said, "but I'm good at pretending." She laughed, and it felt like it filled the entire backyard. After an hour or so, she stepped back and nodded toward our work. "Solid," she said. "If it collapses tomorrow, I'll know who to sue. I'll bring a lawyer and a fruit basket." She looked at me sideways. "You still like fruit snacks?" I wasn't kidding about that. She disappeared inside and came back with a pack. "Actual fruit snacks." "You're kidding." "I'm not," she said. "I've kept these in the pantry for years, mostly out of nostalgia." I opened the packet, popped one in my mouth. "Still elite." She smiled, a slow one this time, like she was letting herself feel something she hadn't felt in a while. We sat on the steps of the deck, her shoulder close enough that I could feel the warmth radiating off her skin. A breeze moved through the trees, the kind of summer evening that made everything feel softer. "I'm glad you're here," she said suddenly. "Yeah." She nodded. "This week was heavy. Want to talk about it?" She hesitated. "Not all of it, just parts." I didn't press. She looked down at her hands. "Sometimes I forget I'm allowed to ask for help. Or even company." "You don't have to forget." "I know," she said, "but it's easy to pretend when no one's around to remind you." I turned toward her. "I'm here now." She looked at me. "You are." We didn't say anything for a while. Then she stood. "You want something to drink? I have wine. Or lemonade if you're keeping it PG." "Wine's fine." Inside, the house felt cooler, dimmer. She poured 2 glasses and handed me one. Her fingers brushed mine again. But this time she didn't pull away. We sat on the couch, not far apart but not touching. The music was back. Low jazz like always. She tucked one leg beneath her, took a sip, exhaled. "I'm not sure what this is," she said quietly, "but it's nice, easy, familiar." "I feel that too." She looked down, then turned toward me slightly. "You were always quiet," she said. "Even when Tyler had a dozen kids over for birthdays, you just sit in the corner and watch." "Not in a creepy way, I hope." She laughed. "No, just thoughtful. I used to think you saw more than most adults did. I was just trying to figure people out. And now, I'm still trying." Her eyes searched mine again, but this time they didn't look away. I didn't move, neither did she, but something shifted. A breath, a pause. Her hand moved just slightly toward mine on the cushion. She didn't take it, just let her fingers rest there, half an inch away. And then she said it, soft, intentional. "This stays between us." I didn't ask what she meant. I didn't need to. I turned my hand, palm up, and let her fingers slide into mine. The touch was quiet, careful, but there, real. She leaned back against the cushions, eyes still on mine. No smile, no fear, just stillness. "I don't want to overthink this," she whispered. Then don't. We sat like that, hand in hand, wine barely touched, the world outside falling away. And in that quiet, something unspoken became undeniable. I woke before the sun, not to an alarm, not to a sound, just the kind of slow return to consciousness that comes after a night you know will stay with you for a long time. The room was still dim, painted with early light slipping through half-closed curtains. The air was quiet. No hum of conversation, no music, just the soft breath beside me. Lauren. She lay curled on her side, one arm tucked beneath the pillow, the other resting near where my hand had been. Her hair had come loose overnight, strands spilling across the sheet. There was something so ordinary and yet surreal about it, like I was both inside a memory and making one at the same time. I didn't move, didn't want to. Last night hadn't been about impulse. It hadn't been messy or loud or sudden. It was slow, earnest, full of pauses and silence and the kind of touches that ask for permission more than once. It wasn't reckless. It was chosen. And yet, in the stillness of morning, the weight of it pressed gently on my chest. Not regret, just reality. The kind that forces you to look inward. I eased out of bed, careful not to wake her, and padded into the kitchen. The tile was cool under my feet. I filled the kettle and set it on the stove, reaching for the same 2 mugs she always used. When the water started to boil, I heard soft footsteps behind me. I turned. She stood in the doorway, wrapped in the oversized gray sweater I'd seen her wear on the couch the night we met again. Her hair was a mess, her expression unreadable. "Morning," I said. She nodded. "Tea. It's already steeping." She stepped into the kitchen. No makeup, no pretense, just her. "I didn't mean to fall asleep," she said softly. "I'm glad you did." She looked at me, searching for something in my tone. "You okay?" I nodded. "Yeah. Are you?" She hesitated. "I don't know." I poured the tea and handed her a mug. Our fingers didn't brush this time. Not because we avoided it, but because we were both feeling our way through whatever came next. We sat at the table, facing each other. "I don't do this," she said after a moment. "Sleep with people?" "No," she almost smiled. "I don't invite people into my life like this. Into me. I know. It's not that I didn't want it. I just didn't expect it to feel like this." I let the silence hold. She looked down at her tea. "It's been a long time since I felt like a woman in the room instead of someone's mother, or someone's ex-wife, or someone who just keeps it together." I reached across the table, gently touched her hand. "You're still all of those things," I said, "but none of them cancel out the rest of you." Her fingers curled around mine slowly. "You make it sound so simple." "It's not. But that doesn't mean it's wrong." She looked at me again, and this time the look wasn't cautious. It was clear, honest. "What now?" she asked. "I don't know." She exhaled. "Me either." We sat in that uncertainty. It didn't feel like a wall, more like a doorway. "I wasn't lying," I said. "I didn't come back just to return a hoodie." She smiled faintly. "I figured that out. And I didn't stay last night because I was confused." "I know." I paused. "But I don't want to be a secret." Her smile faded slightly, not from rejection, but from fear. She nodded slowly. "I don't want this to feel like something that needs hiding. But it does. For now," she said. "Maybe not forever." I let that land. "I can live with for now." She looked relieved. "Thank you." Then she said the words again, softer, more like a promise than a warning. This stays between us. I nodded. Until it doesn't have to. She stood slowly. I should probably get dressed. Tyler's shift ends around 10. Right? Tyler. I gathered my things quietly. She walked me to the door, like always. This time we stood there longer. I'll text you, I said. She nodded. I hope you do. I stepped onto the porch. The morning was bright now. Birdsong in the trees, neighbors just beginning to stir. It felt too normal for a morning that felt so different inside me. Before I reached the steps, I turned. Lauren. She stood in the doorway, hair catching the sunlight. Yes. Do you still want this to stay just between us? She didn't speak right away. Then, with a soft exhale, she said, only if you want it to. I held her gaze. Then I smiled. And I walked away knowing everything had changed.
Bye bye.